Well, the final part of the State Capture Commission of Inquiry's report will be handed over to President Cyril Ramaphosa at the Union Buildings around 4 o'clock, we're told today, following several delays in its release. Let's take you live to the Union Buildings, where Newzroom Afrika reporter Tumaole Mohlaoli is waiting for that handover, Tumaole. So that's going to be the official handover, but we would then all have to access it through the GCIS portal and other government sites. What more are we expecting?
Indeed, Tembekile. Of course, the report would be distributed through those channels that you have just mentioned, and those who are looking to those channels can expect that, of course, it might take a bit of time. So at least by midnight tonight, that report will be then available electronically through those particular official channels. But in terms of what we are expecting, we're certainly expecting that the report will be dealing into the testimonies into the SABC. We know that the SABC, the public broadcaster, was a platform that was used to broadcast the TNA breakfast briefings. These would be the New Age breakfast briefings, whereby, of course, the state ministers as well as other state-owned entity director generals would come onto that platform to detail the deals that they had gone into and to try and defend some of those criticisms against those deals, particularly when it comes into issues of the advance payments and, of course, the links with associates of the Gupta family. Another thing we can expect is, of course, the report to deal with the State Security Agency. Now, the State Security Agency was something that left many jaws dropped in terms of just how far it was captured. And this would be in relation to the testimonies of people like Sidney Mufumadi, who was an author of a report that was issued before Parliament as to what was happening in the State Security Agency. This would be linked to the wanton looting of state resources, whereby you had rogue agents, so to speak, who created a shadow State Security Agency and were then looting in terms of the coffers as well as the properties, and buying properties also in the name of the State Security Agency, which were then not registered. Of course, the Director General in the State Security Agency, Loyiso Jafta, also spoke before the Zondo Commission of Inquiry, detailing how those particular activities also compromised the State Security Agency. This was something that created quite a controversy, because on the eve of Loyiso Jafta's testimony before the Zondo Commission of Inquiry, we do know that, of course, the department itself, the State Security Agency under the intelligence branch, then tried to interject to prevent that particular testimony, saying that it feared that critical operational matters would be aired publicly, and this would compromise active agents before the public. So this was something that was quite dramatic, and something that we'll be watching very closely as to what the recommendations and the findings would be. But moving on, we also would have the Free State back in the mix when it comes to, of course, the Estina dairy farm. Estina Dairy Farm, we do know that the testimony before the Zondo Commission of Inquiry by those including, those inside the provincial government were very damning in terms of what did not happen, because monies were issued by the provincial government, and the use of contractors who are linked to the Gupta family from India to come and consult about a project that was meant to empower a community within South Africa, having had no previous experience or dealings with that particular community or that particular area, was something that was brought into sharp focus. Of course, again, the issue of advance payments. This was a formula tried and tested in the so-called state capture project, whereby you have the provincial government issuing money before any work was done. And certainly, by what has come out in terms of what we know about the Estina Dairy Farm, no work in terms of value add was actually done. And even the community, the beneficiaries themselves in the area, are still very bitter about what happened, saying they were left high and dry. They were left worse off before than after. So that was something that is going to be in sharp focus here as well. One of the other things that we can look at as well is the controversial Waterkloof landing of the Gupta family for the wedding. And of course, we do know that that was something that grabbed the headlines here in South Africa and abroad, as the Gupta family were allowed to land at a key point a critical point in the country, something that is not just open to anyone of the public. And this was a wedding party that was allowed to land there. This is a military base. This is something that is used for presidential visits into South Africa, as well as when the president departs from the country, and also lands if he does not use any of of course, international airports, including OR Tambo here in Johannesburg and Gauteng, as well as Cape Town. So this was something that was, of course, raised the temperature around the Guptas and just the influence they had, and the question of how much capture they had engaged in to be allowed that kind of privilege. These are some of the highlights that we are expecting from this particular report, and we are expecting certainly the president to deal with how this will be taken forward, because of course going forward he will then have to make recommendations to Parliament. Then, Tembegile, we do know that, of course, there are those particular litigation processes that are linked to the state capture, state capture commission of inquiry that are underway at the moment. But we will wait to hear what more can be done and how those processes will be undertaken.
Tumaole Mohlaoli, thank you very much for that comprehensive preview of what to expect in just under 2 hours from now, when that state capture report is handed over to the presidency, and then ultimately we'll be able to read it from the GCIS, the Government Communication Information System. It'll be posted on the website, at least if it's done with the speed that we've seen with the previous reports. By the way, stay with Newzroom Afrika, because we will be going through that report from tonight going into tomorrow, as we go through each and every chapter and see who's been implicated, who's been cleared, and what of what we've already seen reported in the media specifically will be corroborated by the findings of this inquiry.